So, I'm Manfred. I have a strange character in my last name. I'm not even, it's impossible to pronounce in English anyway. Today we're going to talk about bridging the age gap to maximize the potential of multi-generational teams. Because as we all know, it's a big difference between the young ones in our company and the old ones, like me, past 40, so I'm in the old ones. Yeah, we'll try to keep the talk as concrete as possible. Try to give you some explanations of why we have the challenges we have, but also some concrete tools for later. Also try to keep it kind of academically. We're looking into the research that's been done on the reasons why we have these issues and how we can solve it. And of course, we held a talk earlier today about AI. All the pictures of the presentation today is also, of course, generated by AI, so please don't count fingers or other body parts. They usually don't match up. And only one slide today will contain more text than this. I will not give you walls of text to read, so you have to listen to me instead. If you have some questions, you can scan this code, and then you can enter your questions there. We come to the Q&A at the end. I can see all the questions you've asked. You can vote for each other's questions. They will come on top. So you don't have to remember your questions all the way to the end. Great for a lot of us that generally don't remember questions for that long. It's like that was something you talked about 15 minutes ago. I have no idea. So, why do we need to talk about age diversity? Why is it hard? Why do we actually want age diversity in our teams? Because if we look at the research, we find that some papers indicate that it's a huge positive effect of having age diverse teams. We find others that said, oh, it's a huge negative effect having age diverse teams. And then we find others that, again, that says, oh, there's no consistent effect. So that might point to that age by itself doesn't really matter that much. We still have some challenges with age diverse teams. I'll dive into those as well and look at the pros and the cons. But the fact is that we're kind of stuck. We have a team that is age diverse and we have to handle that somehow. So yeah, and we also had some special challenges in ICT, like we have this constant new technology arriving that we have to adapt or want to adapt or resent. So if we're looking at the positives, why is it a good thing to have an age diverse team? We have some other research pointing to that age diversity has a huge positive effect on productivity, but only in companies that engages in creative rather than routine tasks. Luckily in IT, we're generally in the creative tasks business. And so maybe we have some complementary skills that can be utilized across. And of course, then we can dive down to this huge rabbit hole of cost and benefits of having age diversity. But again, the situation is we have, usually the team we have some juniors, we have some seniors. So we might have to focus on the skills and how to get these people to communicate and actually work together in a good way. And sorry, especially when it comes to problem solving and decision making, it can be a huge pro to have both young and old ones in the team, because they have different experiences, they have different views, but then we get to the part of them communicating that might be the hard one. It might not be a huge bombshell, but we have research that concludes that younger have higher adaptation of new technology. And they also looked into if we have young ones that adapt this technology really fast with the old one, like us, that's a bit slow, will that help? And the answer is kind of no. It's not a direct, like the young ones will not automatically just adapt to technology and the old ones like, yay, we're on. But if we add in teamwork and communication, it is a significant pro to have the young ones in the team. So that means if we can get the team to work together through teamwork, we will have a faster technology adoption in the company as a whole. So try to cling to that, the teamwork part of that. And it's not a secret either that experience comes with age. When you've been in the business for 20, 30 years, you have well-honored instincts. And sometimes it's a good thing to be able to slow down the young ones that want to run off and find all the new and shiny and try out everything. So try to combine that can lead to more superior outcomes as well. And you have a lot of people that have been in the business for a lot of years. It's like we've seen these kind of projects come and go. It won't work anyway. We've seen this failing a lot of times. Then we can have the young ones kind of cheering up from the bottom instead. And of course, the seasoned developers will have more collective domain knowledge, harvested over several years. They know how things work, maybe more instinctively, into more of silent knowledge that we'll touch into later as well. And maybe more of an instinct of what will actually work, because we've kind of seen the pattern before, and we're really good at pattern recognition. So, to the challenges. Let's go through the bad things of having both young and old ones in the same teams. So, the issue with looking into research for this is that every research paper is just looking at one thing. So the earlier was like we looked into productivity. How does age affect productivity in the company? And then we have other research that look into innovation. And that's not good reading either, because we see age diversion, gender diversion in team is hugely effect on innovation. Education diversity has a big influence on innovation. And then we look at age diversity, that has a negative effect on innovation. So we're starting with all the bad news here. And they have looked at it for a long time. Even found research from the early 90s that said innovation and age, that's not a good combination. And we always come to the communication as well. You'll feel that more when you get older, when you get young people on team, and you have no idea what they're talking about. You don't understand their lingo. I'm sorry, it's just how it is. So, it's also done a lot of research on the relation between work attitude and age. And that research points to if we work with people similar our age, we will probably have a more positive attitude towards work. Especially if it's one or a few that's of a different age. It doesn't matter if that's the young one or the old one, because then we will enter into something called social isolation. That's a really bad thing. And look a bit more into how we can avoid the social isolation, because I think that's one of the huge issues, because you will get like groups of people. You have the young ones, you have the old ones, and you have the isolation and the wall between them. And people are biologically wired to look for patterns. We like predictability and uncertainty, even if it's anticipated. it can be perceived as a threat for a lot of people. And resistance to change is not an age thing. It's not the old people who don't like to change. It's more of a stereotype that just doesn't stick. It's a personality trait more than anything else. So the problem here is, if we work together with people we don't understand, that means we have to change. And change is hard, again. And it's generally 4 reasons for resistance to change. Come back to that later as well, because this is just the problems. We're coming to the solutions. And you have a huge issue with knowledge gaps. Like the young ones will have the more recent knowledge. The older will have more domain knowledge, and maybe not updated on the newest and the coolest. And the older ones will also have a lot of silent knowledge. There's a lot of things you have learned, and you know it so well, so you don't remember how it is to not know it, and you don't look at it as knowledge. And we have some tricks to get that silent knowledge out of people as well. So what should we do? We looked at some of the benefits. We can get better decision making, we can get better solutions, more stable, robust solutions. But we have looked at a lot of challenges as well. So we have to look at how to mitigate those challenges and actually get to the benefits. So I have to give a big contribute to, I'm probably going to butcher her name, Sahar Andrade. She's a diversity and inclusion advocate. She's doing a lot of work around this, talks. She has TED Talks and everything. So I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of giants. Yeah, I didn't know how to illustrate prerequisites. So I just prompted Midjourney with prerequisites, and this was the answer. But I think it's a beautiful picture, so I kept it. But let's take a look at the things that you as a manager or the manager need to do before onboarding a team. So I talked about resistance to change. So here for the next 2 slides, we'll have a crash course in change management. If you don't know anything about change management, I would recommend having a course in change management. That will be an eye-opening thing. So as I said, the world could be a scary place. Change means something new. And a lot of people have low tolerance to change. Especially if you look at neurodiverse people, ADHD, autism spectrum disorders, all the neurospices have generally a lower tolerance for change. A lot of people will have self-interest over the company interest. We're human after all. We have our self-interest in mind. We want the best for ourselves. This could always be related to a relationship issue. If you don't trust your boss, if you feel that you're not being heard anyway. And then there's a misunderstanding, a lack of trust. You can feel that new technology will make you abundant. You can lose your bonus because it affects your work directly. Or fear of missing something you appreciate. That can be money, that could be power, precision, whatever. Because change may rock the boat a bit. And then you have different evaluations, because as a manager, you'll probably have access to other information than your employees. And you might have a different opinion on what's the right way forward, especially if some don't know the whole picture. So as I said, it may be a fear of job security, loss of job satisfaction, losing the things you really love to do. Loss of control, loss of freedom, threats to your power, and that can be formal power or informal power. And all of this boils down to one thing, and it's uncertainty. So how can we work to embrace the change? We need to educate the nature of a need for change. So we need to counteract the lack of information. Participation and involvement, include all parts from the beginning, designing, planning, implementing, create change agents in the company. Facilitation and support, listen to ideas, listen to problems, listen to concerns, listen to challenges, and acknowledge the emotional challenges, especially for those who are prone to be resistant or have resilience to change. And then negotiation and agreement, because someone will lose something from a change. And then you have to negotiate, come to an agreement, what's the best for everybody. And always remember that trying to force a change, that will lead to frustration, fear, retaliation, alienation, yeah, all the bad things. So where to start? This may sound a bit basic, but if you don't know who your team is, you're in big trouble. Almost used another expression there. So start by knowing your team, and then I mean know it in a structured way. Like, how is your team put together in age dispersion, education, experience? Do you see any lines you can draw before you're involving the rest of the company? They might have something in common they don't even know themselves. And what knowledge do we need to transfer from our seniors to our juniors? So map out the demographics, the competence, the experience. So they're splitting it into two parts. The things that takes time and the quick wins. I also know that I'm the one that's between you and lunch, so I'll try to keep it not too long. But so we're starting with the things that takes time, building motivation. It's important to find common goals and interests, map out the core values of each generation, because they might have different values. And of course, you need to do this with your employees. You cannot say this is important for you. And work on employee value propositions. You can ask your HR representative what that is. They probably know. It's you're kind of trying to map out what are we, what's the purpose of our work, what's important for us at work, and then foster a sense of purpose. And that purpose needs to be across the generations. So if you can agree on one purpose that unites us in the company. But motivating people is hard and it takes time. And we have some tools we can use. One is to give rewards and recognition for individuals who exhibits a desired behavior or achieve specific goals, of course, but then it's a matter of how we set these goals. Do we set them just for invoiced hours or whatever you feel like? Or can we turn these goals into a collaboration type of goal, mentoring goal? Have you taught someone in your company something new? And focus on the goals being across ages, being across genders, being across competence. And as I said before, to involve your employees in the decision-making process and allow them to have a say in how things are done, all the way from the planning phase. And then you always have to balance the needs of the seniors and the juniors. That can be hard, but the resolve is always better achieved when talked about. And there's a couple of things we need to avoid is what I call mock democracies. Is when you ask for a lot of opinions and then you're just going your own way anyway. Or over democracies, that doesn't solve anything because we have to make all the decisions in plenum. Sometimes you need to trust your manager as well. I'm not sure if this is a good picture or if it's a creepy one, but we'll keep it. But we have things like training, courses, and things like that. And try to think about when you're sending people to conferences like this, sending people to hackathons, especially if it's like with a layover when you have to do something social as well. Try to blend this, have a blend of seniors and juniors when you're sending them there as well, because to experience something together builds bonds and kind of shortens the distance between us both. Like if you experience a lot of things together, you're kind of getting closer and age doesn't matter too much anymore. And of course, you have things like put them together, let them produce something after, like present something after the conference, and then again, pair them together with the young and the old ones. And we come to one of my favorite parts, which I really think works well, is to have a well sorted out mentoring program. We have done this in our company, and it's produced some really good results. So if you let your juniors shadow your seniors, that's the first part, because then you're getting to tap into the silence knowledge that you don't even think about how to teach. But if the juniors can observe your work and see, oh, why are we doing this? Why are we taking these choices? Then you're digging into that silent knowledge. And then gradually let the juniors try more under the guidance of the senior. Let the mentor kind of take some steps back slowly. But it's also important that the mentor will always be available for the junior, even after it's kind of done with a hard mentoring phase, not just disappear into nothingness. I lost my track here. And what we've seen in when we have had the mentoring program ourselves is when you have mentored a junior and you're onboarding a new junior, you can actually put the first junior to mentor the second junior. So as a mentor, you don't need to like follow up on everybody. And then you're empowering and then you're transferring, but still being available for both of them. And of course, work for a positive work environment where everybody feels that they're valued, supported. Like eat lunch together, spend some time, get to know each other. As a manager, let people talk about around the coffee machine. Like talking is not a bad thing. And because all these small chats kind of ties us together, I'll talk a bit about why that's important as well. And be respectful, even if you don't click. As a manager, I had a team before. I learned one of the most useful tips I got was spend more time with people you don't like. You'll always have someone you don't click with. You don't know how to talk to them or what to talk about. So force yourself to spend time with people you don't like, and suddenly you start liking them magically. Avoid oversharing. Is a difference between being personal and being private. And interact with each other, keep a positive tone. Because it's about creating an environment where everybody feels welcome, respected, and appreciated. Understand your audience. Work with unconscious bias. We all have stereotypes in our heads. We can work on that. We can have courses about that. Try to have inclusive communication. It's not about adhering to the rules of political correctness. It's about understanding, respecting, valuing each other's perspective. You don't have to agree, but you can be respectful anyway. Try to avoid terms that people don't understand. Create a dictionary, a wiki, something that you can unite around words and definitions. So it's about creating a safe space where it's safe to not know, it's safe to ask questions. And that needs to start from the seniors, from the managers. Talk about what you don't know. Talk about what you don't understand. Because probably some other people know something about it. And if you open that space, that's safe to say, I have no idea how to do this. This is beyond my knowledge. Then you're opening up to learn as well. And then we have this little hack. Something called affinity bias. We have a built-in tendency to like or to favor people that we share similar interests, background, and experience with. And this is often tied to age, but we can make the age part not that relevant. Of course, if you search affinity bias, you'll find a lot of negatives, because imagine having a doctor, a teacher favoring people they like, and feel that they are like them. And as that also disfavors the ones that's different, that's not a good thing. But we talked earlier about social isolation being one of the big issues with the age-diverse teams, because we have this wall between the generations. But if we can find people that share our interests, because interests are not necessarily an age thing, share our backgrounds, where we are from, what values we have, or experiences, like I talked about, going to conferences, going to hackathons and things like that, then we suddenly start to like these people that we have these experiences with, and then making the age difference less significant. But what about the quick wins? You have resource groups, maybe the hardest of the ones I'm going to mention. Sounds like a great idea. It is, if you get it to work. It's a hard thing to get to work. But try to find common interests or identity. Let your employees themselves create and manage based on their interests. But you will need a prime mover. And you have to communicate a lot what you're expecting from them. Are they going to present something at the lunch and learn? And do they get budget to do something? At our work, we have an AI interest group that works really well, because we have a lot of people that's really engaged in AI. But you need those prime movers to get this going. That's at the lunch and learns. Make it a weekly or a monthly happening. Make sure it's prioritized, so you have to give time for it. And of course, mixing age into this as well, because it is things that young people know better, it's things that old people know better, and maybe the age isn't that important overall. And this is also a favorite of mine, to have some hackathons. And my take on a hackathon, nothing production worthy should be presented at a hackathon, not even like proof of concept worthy. Everything should be deleted when we're done. It's more of a brainstorming thing. But it's a good way to both foster ideas, but also to get people to experience something cool and interesting together. We've had a couple of hackathons before. We went away to a hotel for a couple of days, and the task was make a stream on a streaming platform, but you have to integrate with something to make it engaging and interactive for the viewers. And that was the task. That open, I want to see something entertaining tomorrow in 24 hours. But then we also went away, we had dinner together and everything. Or we had, together with a customer, we had a make tomorrow's waste solution using microprocessors as IoT devices and present something cool in 24 hours. So letting these open questions and foster creativity and get people to work together. And it is important to don't just not work. Considering the affinity bias, do something together that is not work. And maybe not just a dinner, but I actually have an experience together, find the least common denominator, and that's going to be hard because people have different interests. But yeah, maybe, of course, as I said, we can combine this with a hackathon and such as well. But what to do if you're remote only? We had during Corona when everybody was remote, we had some game nights. We played like Among Us together. You can lie to your boss and get away with it. But that's kind of building those experiences together. So already at the summary slide. So I told you I'll have one slide with a lot of text. So I have the long-time solutions, work on motivation, common sense of purpose, the inclusive communication, make it a safe space, mentoring, on-the-job training. It's really my huge favorite of those because it's so easy to actually get it to work as long as you give time for the mentor to be a mentor. And for the short term, you have the resource groups, lunch and learns, and hackathons. Nice question. I use Midjourney for the images. Do you think programming conventions and standards help to avoid resistance to change? Clear communication will somehow avoid resistance to change, but still, it's kind of a we are resilient to change. How do you suggest a mentor should stay available for the junior? Regular check-in in order or check-in? That's a matter of communication. I've had several mentees. Some of them want us to have a weekly or a monthly check-in. Someone would just like, I'll talk to you when I need some help. But then they know that they can just drop by when they need help. So let's see, I can get the Q&A up here as well. You can see the next question there. In your opinion or experience, why do you think neurodivergent people are... I'm not a psychologist. It is it kind of is what it is. It's a matter of sensitivity to uncertainty and general sensitivity to things that go around outside. Because you're more sensitive to things happening outside because there's a lot happening on the inside. Let me see. Examples of team integration activities when the age gap is pretty big. That's a good question. And we've had problems finding activities that fits everyone because someone just wants to eat a nice dinner and someone wants to like drive a go-kart in 100 miles an hour. So it's a matter of finding, as I said, finding the least common denominator in some way or form. It's a matter of communication. So how can we encourage juniors to be more open to doubts and questions? Wait for them to get older. I think, it's a teaching process. So open and clear communication. And then when next question, how can we encourage seniors to be more open to doubts and questions? Now, but I think if we can get our age-diverse teams kind of established and have some experiences together and create this open environment when it's safe and easy to talk about things, then I think we can get the added benefit of the seniors being a bit more open, and the juniors being the seniors being more open to doubts and questions, and also get the juniors to be open to doubts and questions. So yeah, I think the open communication and just make a safe space where it's allowed to not know something. You're not stupid if you don't know everything. You're kind of stupid if you think you know everything. I think that was it for me. I won't keep you from lunch.
Yeah, there was another question, maybe you didn't see it, but it said, example of team integration activities when all team members are remote and perhaps in different countries.
Yeah, like activities when you're remote is always difficult, and that's I touched into it like what we did during Corona as well, like having a game night, find a game that can be played together, like have everybody in a Teams meeting or a voice chat of some kind, playing some games, maybe. But again, it's a matter of communication, what people like to do. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to meet when you're in different countries, yeah.
Yeah. So, sometimes you're in an established organization and you have a strategic vision and you have new team members come on that want to add to the vision, but yet the vision has timeline, measurables, and just what's some advice on how to get folks bought in early, because folks want to come in new to make an impact, yet it's always perceived as, older folks, don't want to let folks in, but you're still on your sprint.
Yeah. But I think that's a company vision thing as well. It has to be handled from the top, because it's hard to get in. Like as a junior, you have all these ideas, and some of them really great, and you have older management which are kind of set in their ways. I don't think it's a quick fix to that in any way. I think the companies that will succeed of taking on these juniors and ideas will excel over those who don't. But that change has to come from top management. It has to be a part of the mission or the vision of the company.
So in Dominican culture, there is a lot of pride in being experienced, and we have even sayings that says that experience can be improvised. So people take that to heart, and sometimes when somebody younger tries to come in and teach them something, they have a lot more resistance than many other part of the world. And how would you consider would be a good way of maybe trying to model somebody that has that strong pride on the knowledge that they have acquired with their age, and maybe try to open them up to learn new stuff and be welcoming for the other people who might not know even more stuff than they do on different topics.
I think working on, because it's important what you're saying about pride, because that's kind of, you know a lot and you have pride in what you know, but kind of foster an environment where you have pride in learning something as well, to show that if you dare to kind of show vulnerability or that you don't know something, you can actually learn and be better faster, and then you can gain more knowledge faster. So you can actually, it is a win-win, but that, as everything else, is a communication matter, but try to foster that pride of learning as well as the pride of knowing, I think. Yeah, now we can go get your lunch.